And so like what you said, freedom to me it's so simple. It's being able to spend my day doing what brings me joy. And I listened to a podcast a couple of days ago. I love listening to podcasts. I'm here on a podcast.
Yeah.
And it was by the Mindset Mentor, and he was talking about financial freedom and stuff. And it's interesting that we have these illusions. Like, okay, so I started singing and doing music. I was like, well, now I'm free. I'm gonna sing. I'm gonna do my music. And at one point, then felt trapped by the situation I was in of just playing music all the time. And I was like, no, there has to be more to this than that. And I was like, well, then maybe I need to go and make some money, just start making money, because I wasn't making a lot of money just doing music. I mean, it was great, but I wasn't making a lot of money.
These days, it's hard.
So then I went and got the job and was making the money, and then the pandemic hit and I was slapped down, just like, okay, so now I can't do music and now I'm not making the money, but thankfully I'm doing better than most, right? And that's when it hit me that freedom is now being able to help others be free.
Yeah.
So it goes back to the function of freedom is to help somebody else find freedom.
I love that. Yeah. And there's a gentleman coming on next week. His name's Jay Stringer, and he talks a lot about addiction and how one thing that I love, I'm almost done with his entire book. And one thing that he talks about is that people stay trapped for so long because their shame actually traps them.
Yeah.
I look at people that deal with, alcoholism
Absolutely.
or even like lust stuff or different things. And you do it, and then afterwards you just feel terrible.
And we're ashamed about things too that aren't even our fault. Like even me I was born into the cult.
Yeah.
But then when I found out that I was born into an actual cult, and it wasn't just any cult, it was a notorious cult. Like this is, I was like, oh my God, like I was just stuck in this world of shame about that when it wasn't even my stuff. Like, and nobody has ever seen me like that with, or projected that onto me, but it was something that I felt trapped in.
Yeah.
When I didn't need to.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So that's why I think conversations like this are so important.
Yeah. Sure.
Just having more conversations about it.
Sure.
I lost a brother, my brother to suicide. And he graduated from medical school. He was ready to become a surgeon. Yeah. He made it through, and then boom. And that is part of my story too, that kind of made me stop and go, whoa. Like, whoa.
Yeah. What
really happened here, And just wanting to really talk about things and bring things to light that so many people just won't talk about and sweep under the rug. And the whole shame thing, The guilt, shame, and fear are the three killers. They're the silent killers.
It's what the enemy uses. Like, that is his tactic. And I think, exactly what you said, that to me, there's a difference between shame and conviction. I think with conviction, it always brings us back to the Lord, and it brings us back to the Word and the truth, really. With shame, the enemy uses shame to just keep on feeling bad about yourselves. And even, the book talks about this. You're in this constant circle of not feeling good enough, and it's what leads you to do it again.
Yeah.
So you're in this constant thing and you never experience freedom because your shame is literally dragging you in circles.
It's a spiral. It's a downward spiral.
It's a spiral.
Yeah. Conviction spurs you to action, to do something about it, right? And the shame just sweeps it further and further and further, and it's like an anchor that pulls you down.
Yeah,
right.
I love that. I love that. It reminds me a lot. You know, you talked about this story about your brother, and I'm so sorry to hear that, by the way.
Yeah.
I mean, I know I've had friends in the past that have gone through that, and I've lost a lot of friends in the past that have gone through that, and it's so tough. It's tough to talk about.
Yeah.
And it's even tougher to experience. I'm thinking of like the person at home who's sort of trapped, not necessarily in a cult,
Right.
but maybe in a mental battle.
Yeah.
How do you get out of that? How do you get out of the mental cult, sort of just you and yourself?
Your own cult.
Yeah, your own cult, literally. Like, it consumes you. It's consumed so many of my friends, even just like the anxiety stuff and depression stuff. What ways do you think is healthy to go about finding freedom in that? We talked a lot about biblically, but is there anything practically that you would say?
Well, I have 2 really close friends that suffer heavily with depression. And I do have people in my family, like even obviously my brother, right? But he was somebody that suffered in silence because it was taboo before in the cult to even go through that. And so he was unwilling to talk about it because he saw it as something horrible, you know, as demonic. You know, I'm just saying these words here because these are, you know.
Sure.
And so he didn't bring things to light that he could have, and therefore that took him down, right? So I feel like negative thinking, it's a habit because it's a neural pathway, right, that we've created. And I've done so much studying up on this. I'm not an expert by any means, a scientific expert, but I'm somebody that's been in and around a lot of people like that. And I know at least one person, a really good friend of mine, that was bogged down with depression, and she took herself out of it. And now she's also a speaker on the subject of mental health. And you have to train your mind. You have to retrain your mind. And that's what the Bible talks about, you know. Transform yourself by the renewing of your mind.
Amen.
Every 7 years, our bodies completely transform. We are not the same cells now that we were 7 years ago.
Yeah.
So it might be a long process, but anything is a process.
Yeah.
You know, if you're somebody that sits on the couch all day and you decide that you want to run a half marathon, you can't get up and just do it all at once.
Yeah.